you've been really working on refining your sell rules to a degree. Has there been
Yes.
any like major thing that you've come up with that's like, oh, this is something that really I think could make a difference for me in the future?
I think the 21 EMA. So, my original rule would be like, one close below the 21 EMA. But over the past year, as I've actually looked at what's been happening, I look for two closes below the 21 EMA. And that's why on that Friday, and again, Friday triggered, it was the biggest down day since December 18th, 2024. In fact, it looked almost exactly like December
Yes.
18th, uh, 2024. So, but because, as I said, I had already raised cash on the way up, I was able to give it some room. And again, I got in at the end of April, right? So I have a profit cushion. So if this down day had happened, like, so let's say I got in April 22nd, if the day that we had on Friday, if that had happened a week after I had entered my position, I would be selling a lot
Hmm.
because, but because I had a profit cushion and it was one bad day after we've had so many good days, you're going to have those bad days. And the one other thing that I would mention, particularly in a year like we've had this year, I know 10% in TQQQ sounds like a lot, but Nvidia was down 17% in a day and it's a huge
Yeah.
stock. You look at these IPOs, they're all over the place. So I think that if you're going to be trading, whether it's individual stocks or triple leverage, of course, you have to be prepared that there's going to be big swings sometimes, and you have to know in advance how you will handle that because I've learned this over time. Otherwise, for sure, it's very easy to panic when
Hmm.
something like that happens.
Right. And it's worth mentioning that again, you got to remember you're dealing with an index. So even though it is triple leveraged, the 20, we often look at the ATR, the average true range, and the 21 ATR percentage on TQQQ is only 3.68. So it's kind of in line with maybe like Zscaler, NVIDIA that you mentioned. Um, it's certainly less than like a Celestica or even I mean really it's actually kind of close to the ARC Innovation ETF. So
Hmm.
this isn't leveraged, but you kind of have an ATR that's similar
Hmm.
to the Kathy Wood Fund. So yeah, I agree with you. It's not like you're you're going crazy here in terms of your risk. It feels that way sometimes because it's triple whatever the market does, but compared to an individual stock, and you also don't have, I guess, the situation where, okay, one bad earnings report and you're toast.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's interesting. I have always considered myself somebody who really pays attention to the fundamentals first. And then once I started learning the chart, which after how to make money in stocks, I started to learn technicals too. I was able to significantly improve my results. But I did spend a lot of time analyzing the fundamentals. And the good thing with TQQQ is I don't worry about the fundamentals. I focus on the technicals, but some of the art that's still part of TQQQ is I am aware of when the Magnificent Seven, I am aware when they have an earnings report coming up.
Mhm.
And only because if they do have a significant up or down, that it will have probably a greater impact on TQQQ. But it's more that I'm aware of it versus, really taking action. But it's just
Mhm.
a nuance that I try to keep in mind during earnings season.
Hmm. I should have also mentioned, just because we always have to disclose, I was mentioning RK because of the ATR being similar, but I do have a position in that myself, so we always have to disclose that. You also mentioned, Viba, how one of the things you've been looking at as a sell signal is instead of just one day, you're looking at 2 days. But there's also these situations where, okay, it closed below here, it closed below the 21-day here, but this was a support day. So do you ever
Mhm.
kind of say, oh, well, I'm gonna give it a little bit more room there?
Yes.
Or okay.
100%. Um, and again, it's kind of also connected to because I sell on the way up, I generally have like, some cash and I have that comfort level that, okay, I've been selling on the way up. But I do look at the support levels. And that's why, for example, you were asking me about like or I mentioned the 21 EMA, and I said I'd look at two closes below. But if the second day is there's support, then I'm going to wait and see what happens on the third day.
Hmm.
So that's why that signal to me is a little bit more of an art than a science, because you sort of look for, even if it's a down day, if it's showing support, then I will give it a little bit more room. Again, especially if it happens after I already have a profit cushion. When
Hmm.
those things happen at the beginning of just initiating an entry, then I don't give
Hmm.
it that much room.